Welcome, everyone. If you're looking for the executive roundtable with Elevate, you have found the right place. My name is Samantha. I'm a product lead here at Elevate. We have a lot of faces here in the room already, including two of our lovely speakers for today, Lori Zorn and Julia Bunyatov. And we also have Margie Solomon, who is our interim CEO. So welcome to all. And so happy that you could be here with us today to talk about impact and navigating moments of uncertainty. It's going to be a really exciting conversation. So wherever you are, take a deep breath. It's going to be a really exciting hour. Before we get any further, I want to pass things off to Margie to say hi while she's in transit and hopefully before she's about to board her airplane right now.
Hi, hello everybody. I am calling in from Bozeman, Montana, on my way back from being in the Wild West for 3 months. So if I look like the wild woman of Borneo, it's because I haven't had a chance to actually, come back into civilization or prepare to be back in civilization with you all. I am thrilled to be here. I am thrilled to have been asked to come back to Elevate, 85 Broads Elevate, to lead us through this time. It's been a little uncertain for us. It's been uncertain for everyone, post-COVID, and what we're doing coming out of COVID, coming back into the world, sort of like me, coming back from being out west, coming back into civilization. So I'm very excited for what Julie and Laura are going to share today. I know you all will be. Hi back, Selena. I see some familiar names, and I'm excited to see you. I hope that I will see you all soon, many of you in person. And if you want to think about it, you want to reach out, please do. Love to talk to each and every one of you. So I'm going to say bye, and I look forward to seeing you. Sorry, I am going to have to miss today, but it's going to be fantastic. So enjoy, engage, and we'll all talk soon. Thanks, Samantha.
Thank you, Margie. Have a safe
Bye. Thank you.
All right. So with that, Lori and Julie, I'm going to pass things off to you.
All right. Thank you, Samantha, and thank you, Margie. It was great to get that set up, and what a cool time as Elevate is changing leadership and to talk about impact in that scheme as well as in your own lives. So thank you for having us. We're really excited to talk about a topic that's so meaningful to both Julie and I in our life and our work. And it's kind of a full circle moment. We were just talking before the call, how Julie and I, way before we met each other, were part of Elevate when it was 85 Broads back in the early 2000s. So it's really special for us to come back after some time to see how the network has grown, and and it's really just quite incredible. So we're so thrilled and a little nervous to be here today. So thank you all for being part of our communities. I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and I want to highlight what Samantha said, a conversation. We really would love this to be a conversation. We hope to engage you, hear from you, have you talk to each other, to think about this topic. But first, we want to just set the table a little bit. Today I'm hoping to, Julie and I are hoping to challenge your thinking about what is impact, and perhaps thinking about it from a different lens, particularly in this moment that continues to be uncertain for so many of us. We'll introduce a model, the exponential impact model that we've created for our own clients, and we're excited to share with you. And we're going to give you some space to reflect on it individually and for yourselves and in groups, Because what we want you to do is walk away with some new insight for yourself and perhaps a commitment that you'll take with you after the call. So as we get started, let's set an intention for today. I mean, each of you is coming from somewhere and we'll be going to somewhere else. So what is it that you need to be fully present in this moment and honor the time that you've set aside for yourself to invest in your own development and to connect with each other? So I invite you just to think about that. Feel free to share in the chat. It helps with connection and, of course, a little accountability for the hour. And I'll share our intention is to create the space for each of you and to create connection with each of you to be able to think about this and really explore it for yourselves. I'm hoping, as I mentioned before, use the chat box if you have a question, if you have a comment. And my hope is that this will be a safe space where you can express and challenge and support each other. All right, so a little bit about us.
Hi, dear.
Oh, someone have a comment, or is that background noise?
Hello, I am
Hi.
trying to speak. Yeah, I'm so sorry I have interrupted, but I am Khadija from S&P Global.
No worries.
And as per our company policy, we cannot use chat function in Zoom.
Okay.
So those who are from there would not be able to respond back on chat for anything. I just wanted to give you a heads up around that.
So first of all, thank you so much. I appreciated that you brought that because that's important. And thank you for saying that. So for those of you that aren't able to use the chat box, please just raise your virtual hand, or I think we have a pretty small group here. So, and then we'll make sure to get you on voice because we want to make sure your voice is heard. Thank you for bringing that in. All right. So our story. So this is a little bit about us and our background and the story that connected us to this topic. So Julie and I together have over 50 years experience in the corporate leadership space. We have a shared passion for coaching. Our backgrounds are different. Julia comes from the banking industries and she's held roles at Lehman Brothers and Barclays. I come from the management consulting space and I've worked at companies like Mattel and Unilever, and then in my consulting space across industries. And, we really have connected over this. We met at Columbia University back in 2021, which was really the time of, so much uncertainty. And while we were studying coaching at Teachers College, as we were pivoting into this space, we shared this deep connection for what is impact. We were in the midst of so much uncertainty, and then we were in the point in our careers where, frankly, we were frustrated and we wanted to create more impact for ourselves and our clients. We were in the middle of a global pandemic. Human rights were being in jeopardy after the death of George Floyd, and we were in the midst of an economic downturn. So each of us were experiencing these highest levels of stress in our life and in the systems around us. So we realized time is of the essence, and we need to figure out there's got to be a different way. So this realization and awareness that there was a better way really forced us to reflect and think about how we spend our time to create even bigger impact for us and for our client communities that were experiencing the same stress. So we really bonded deeply over this topic, and we started thinking about what does impact mean, and how do we translate this for our clients and in the work that we do. So we research, we're complete data nerds. We spend a lot of time thinking about it, doing interviews, and coming up with a framework that we can use with our clients. So we want to share, where we started our work. And we started our work with this question, which is, what does impact mean for us? So I'm going to invite each of you to think about that for yourselves. When you think about this word, what comes up? And feel free to come off voice or put your comments in the chat. Julie, as we thought about it, I remember that coffee shop, right, that we were in back in there was that fall day right by Grand Central. And when we started thinking about impact, we had so many different definitions, and we thought about our life and those moments where we made impact. What
Yeah.
are we seeing in the chat?
Yeah. Phenomenal reflection points, positive impact,
Mhm.
result, and action. An action or idea that affects profound thought and change.
Mm.
Cassandra, thank you.
Well, influence in a positive way. The impact leaves a voice, making a positive difference. How our lives or work will change based on action. Wow, these are great.
Great words.
A lot of some of the themes that we were developing.
Yeah.
So as what we did, like any good researcher, we started with the dictionary. We said, we went to the dictionary and we were surprised by what we found. According to the Oxford Dictionary, impact is the action of one object coming forcibly in contact with another. So when we read this, we were startled. We were thinking, this seems so concrete, right? This idea of one to one or one to many coming into contact. And it felt very finite to us, almost like a collision. So as you look at this visual, right, of a meteor hitting planet Earth on impact, it almost felt like final, and almost explosive. And we thought to ourselves, how can we challenge this definition and really start to think about it through a leadership lens? Because as coaches, we see leaders every day making incredible, lasting impact, especially in the times of uncertainty that we were facing then and we still face today. And that is the work we're doing with clients. So I invite you to, again, to think about, when you think about leaders in your own life or prominent leaders out there, what are some that come to mind when you think of impact?
Please use the chat box if you can.
And these can be anyone
Hi
in your,
there.
yeah. Kadia,
Again.
would you like to share?
Yeah. I am a coach and a trainer. This is a job which I do every day, and for me, impact is when somebody is actually doing something which we are trying to make them do, right? It's not about, talking about good stuff and then talking about all the wonderful things around us and that's it. It's not like that. If impact is there, if we want to implement some strategy or some culture or something, and people are actually making that particular thing a part of themselves. If that is not happening, that means that impact is not there for that particular, thing which we are trying to do at any point in time. So for me, impact is a practical thing. It's not just, it should not just be in words, I would say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I see great examples in the chat box. Obviously, Michelle Obama, and what a beautiful polarity with Putin and Biden, right? So impact could be detrimental and horrific, and Biden expansive. Meghan Markle, thank you. So yeah, so what do all those leaders have in common? And I invite you to continue to share your thoughts in the chat box. And when we looked at, for us, it was actually one of the people that came to us, especially when Lori highlighted the meteor, was Elon Musk and his famous quote, "I'd like to die on Mars, but not on impact." And when we thought through that lens, and if we look at the next slides, we realized that the impact was really boiling down to 4 different components, which is, and I am glad that you've highlighted that, it's vision, it's action, but then there is this process of making meaning and intention, right? This deep-rooted process of making meaning and intention. And all of these leaders have these components in common. There were 3 particular leaders that inspired our thinking when we came up with our model. So if we look at the next slide, And those would be, the first one was Nelson Mandela for his audacious vision to bring people together, with the intention to bring people together, and his value of fairness and his relentless commitment to action over his 30-year fight for freedom. The second one, and at the time when we wrote that, it was very much in the top of our minds, it was Queen Elizabeth II. And the reason we picked her is for her immense sense of responsibility and commitment to serve, right? And she's had, her tenure lasted for over 70 years. But what was very integral to us, and I hope this resonates, and you know who that is, it's Viktor Frankl. And his contribution to psychology, when he said that the making meaning process, the deep-rooted making meaning process, setting an intention and being responsible for that process is actually foundational to our sense of thriving. In his famous book, Man's Search for Meaning, hopefully you guys read it. If not, absolutely recommend reading it. He famously depicts how his making meaning process and connecting with the value of life and showing up with this intention of optimism enabled him to survive the horrors of concentration camp. And obviously, when after the war finished, through his School of Psychology, his story is really the one of thriving because his work continues to shed light for so many that are going through uncertain times. So when we looked at these three leaders, we obviously also questioned our experiences, and we realized we have similar stories. And as Lori had said, we're nerds, so we interviewed all our clients who, all of them are leaders in the space across industries. But then we posed the question, and Lori, I remember it was you. You said, Julia, wait, can impact be universal? Right? And I think it was you who said, as mothers, as parents, we juggle so much, right? We always have this making meaning process full frontal, and we show up with this sense of responsibility to support our families, right? And then obviously I have CEOs, I have some leaders here. We all share the same type of shared, what we've highlighted on the previous slide, vision, intention, action, making meaning process. So if we think of teachers, right, their immense sense of responsibility, value of education, and their action of showing up for their students day in, day out. Humanitarian workers who have this intention of showing up empathetically, doing incredible things. Firefighters that are here to save and protect us. And even entertainment industry, like, to be honest, I Googled empathy and this showed up, right? That connected us over the years and left a lasting mark. So when we looked at this, we realized that we have the components of a framework. And some of these leaders, all of these leaders use this framework. Some of them use them congruently, some of them integrate them fully, and others don't, right? And we could question the impact. I like that example about Putin. Clearly, he's not on this slide. And as we move to the next slide, we've highlighted, and that's how we came up with this exponential impact framework, which consists of all those components that we brought to life earlier, but it's this congruency of these components, right? It's this internal process of making meaning and identifying values, setting the intention that is aligned with our values, outlining a compelling and maybe audacious vision, right? And then being relentlessly committed to action, right? Focus and commitment are absolutely important. As coaches, we recognize that self-awareness and intentional component of bringing this to life is very important. And again, it was Viktor Frankl who said that we all have responsibility to show up this way and to create resonant experiences. So I want to pause for a moment and let you look at it. And if you'd like, please chat in which component resonates with you most?
Yeah, I'm just going to interject, Julia, for a moment. I mean, this was the piece that was really kind of the aha moment for us, is that it was the piece around it's universal. So I'm curious, you know, we're a group of 23. I'm curious, and feel free to go comment in the chat, like, which are the components that resonate most for you?
Yeah, Christina. Wow. So true. So true. Right. So we thought you'll have an opportunity to actually connect. Thank you. To connect and discuss that and reflect on your personal experience. But before we do that, we thought to bring a personal story. So I have many examples of impact. And thank you for saying that Bezos is still questionable. So it's really when we are not aligned, that's when the impact is questionable, right? And looking at that lens and recognizing if I was aligned in my past, the outcome would have been different. So I picked that example through my journey of uncertainty. I worked at Lehman Brothers and my husband worked at Lehman Brothers. We met at the company. Between both of us, we had 30 years of service. Full disclosure, we didn't work on fixed income, we worked in equities. And at the time of bankruptcy, we had 30 years combined, right? You could imagine. So, and my good example, I guess, of impact dates back to September 14th, 2008, when Barclays bought Broker-Dealer overnight. I was the equities trading CEO at the time, and I was given the responsibility to run the integration. So the making meaning process was essential through that process. And I guess it was no matter what, we're going to get it done. How many of us have that, right? We're going to get it done no matter what. But it was the value of business continuity, the value of teamwork. I was in trading. Things need to run. Everything needs to be smooth. So that was full frontal. And then my intention, I knew very quickly, I'm not going to be successful if I'm not going to be inclusive and collaborative across two different organizations and multiple departments. And obviously, the relentless commitment to action resulted in us going and integrating the businesses ahead of schedule. So there was a reason I kind of went for that example, because we all lived through a horrific time, not a horrific, I would say uncertain time, deeply uncertain time, right? When everything shifted. And I guess it was March of 2020. So I want to invite you to think, how did your life, we all know our lives changed at home and at work. How would you look at that time and period in life, and perhaps even today, through the lens of this framework? Thank you for saying it, right? For all of it to be resonant, you know, we use that word resonance and being fulfilled. There is a deliberate component, intentional component of aligning it all.
Yeah. Andrea writes a comment that it's about the triad of intention, action, and vision. So it's having all of them in the mix. So, and that's, I invite you, how we thought of this is, I've also thought about times in our lives where they weren't congruent. And, you know, what would the impact have been if they were? What would have been different if it was? So that's also another way to think about this, by reflecting on a past experience and thinking about how can I change it for the future. Great. Yeah. Thanks, Andrea. And yeah, and certainly developing this framework on the heels of the pandemic made it really, really powerful and resonant for so many. So you guys ready to try it out for yourselves? Shall we test it out? Let's go for a test drive. Beautiful day. A little bit off season, but hopefully this might inspire you to think about a time in your life where you created impact. And it could be any experience, whether it's personal or professional. Think about what components. So take making meaning, intention, action, and vision. So of the 4 components, which is the one that you've leaned on the most in that time, and which perhaps were in the peripheral, if any, were in the peripheral? What would it look like if you took that experience and perhaps amped up one of those peripheral components? What would it look like if you integrated them? Or perhaps were more intentional about the impact that you were about to make? So we're going to give you 5 minutes to reflect here in the room, and then we're going to move you into breakouts. And in groups of 3, I'll ask you just to share with each other. We'll take 5 minutes each, and then 5 minutes maybe determining themes across the 5 groups, excuse me, across the group of 3. And then we'll come back to the room and have a discussion. So I'll invite you to, we'll go on mute for a while. If you have questions, please enter them to the chat box, or of course, those that can't enter in the chat box, you could go off mute, but I will keep it silent as possible. And then of course, if you need to go off Zoom, you're more than welcome to do so.
Are you waiting for people to say something, Lori and Julia? I'm unclear.
Thanks, Andrew. We're doing silent reflection before heading into the breakout room. So these are the questions around thinking about a time that you've created impact and reflecting on the model on your own. And then we'll move into breakout rooms in just a couple of minutes. Okay, as you're wrapping up, some final thoughts. for your individual reflection. We're going to move into breakouts in just a couple of seconds. So get your seatbelts on, ready to take off and meet your breakout partners. Enjoy the discussion. Have fun.